What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in a building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. We are now live. Shout out to everybody in chat. I'm already seeing the familiar faces. How all you beautiful people doing on this Saturday evening? It is the Shop Podcast crew. Come get your gaming fix, man. You guys know how we do every Saturday evening, man. Appreciate the support. Let me give some quick shout outs to everybody already in chat. Shonsu, Talos, Tim A, Decado, Blue, what's up, brother? How you doing? I'm sure Ashtray will be right behind you. You know, the frauds stick together, as usual. But shout out to everybody watching us live. Once again, retweet the link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. Come get your gaming fix every single Saturday evening, man. We have a really, really good time here. It's going to be a special show tonight. We got a brand new ghost. And on schedule, what's up, Ashtray? Like I said, the frauds stick together. So we know how that works. But we got an amazing guest, a first-time guest, so you guys know that's always fun. But let me go ahead and get into that as well too. So shout out to you, Game Positive, for hanging out with us. I know you're gonna get into where your origins are at and kind of where you're from, but shout out to you for hanging out with us, brother, and glad to have you on the show.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Awesome, bro. Well, let everybody know where they can find you, man. I know you got some connections there. Shout out to the Season Gaming family over there.
Yeah. I'm well. My name is Eric. Go by Game Positive on the internet. I do have my own podcast and YouTube channel that I upload a few things to here and there. I just released the first ever Game Pass Awards, which is a really fun project. Some people in this panel actually were involved with that, which I very much appreciate. I also am a senior editor or senior contributor, at seasongaming.com, which is a website that talks about video games. You guys might have heard of it. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, we glad to have you here, but like I said, first time here. You're family now. Once you're on here, once you never know when you'll be back. So we appreciate you taking out some time. And once again, chat, you all know what to do. Go show some love down in the description. Go follow him. Go support everything over there. Once again, shout out to Ains. The entire team in Season Gaming is A1 quality. If you want to go to A1 quality website that I recommend, I don't recommend a lot of them. Please go take your time over there at seasongaming.com. It's a phenomenal website. High integrity. That's what we want to go for, people. So shout out to you, Game Positive, for being one, part of that awesome network of people over there at Season Gaming, brother, man. Shout out to you. So let me go and throw this over to my two amazing co-hosts who make me look phenomenal every single week. So we're gonna start with you, Mr. Pong. So what you been up to? What you been playing? What haven't you been playing? What you been grazing?
You know what world I'm living in. You know what world I'm. Look, listen. Genghis Pong is back yet again, folks. Because Age of Empires,
right.
Age of Empires 2.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, sir. This has been a fantastic week. First of all, Game Positive, awesome to have you on here. Honored that you asked me to be a part of your award show, and great job on that production. Again, everything you guys do over there at Season Game is absolutely amazing. So thank you for being here and giving us your time tonight, for sure, brother. I can't wait to hear some of your thoughts and opinions. 100%. Chat, you're all looking amazing. As always on a Saturday night, great to have each and every single one of you here. But yeah, this week, man, listen, I jumped back into Midnight Suns. Got my addiction going again with Midnight Suns. The Deadpool DLC dropped, so I do want to kind of move forward in Midnight Suns and get Deadpool and stuff. So I started back up on that, played a little JoJo's, which dropped into Game Pass, which was fantastic. Quick shout out to a small game, RoboQuest. PTK, have you downloaded that yet?
I have not, but I did watch. I saw it. Yeah. I clicked on it, did watch the trailer. It looks very interesting.
Yes, and what I'm going to say, and why I brought that up is because if you like Gunfire Reborn, download RoboQuest.
Oh man, you speaking my language now.
Yes, I know I am. That's why I asked you. It's a faster paced shooter than Gunfire is, but the roguelike first-person shooter. It's in-game preview, so it's not the full game. There's no achievements or anything like that.
Yeah.
They got some things to work on a little bit. Some of the accuracy with the guns and kind of stuff. But again, if you like Gunfire Reborn, if you've tried Gunfire Reborn, you know what I'm talking about. PTK certainly does. Go check out RoboQuest. Give it a try. Again, Game Pass, no risk. See if you like it. I played through the tutorial and really enjoyed what I saw and felt there. So I think they're onto something, and I think that could be a sleeper game. Again, that was a game that came out in between, JoJo's coming out and obviously Age of Empires 2, which I'll talk about here in a minute. So kind of got lost in the shuffle there. And Inkle Naughty also came out, which I haven't had a chance to touched yet, but I did play the beta of that and liked it. So, but yeah, I just want to give that a quick shout out. But then, other than that, it's been Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. For anybody who hasn't looked it up yet, because you're not an RTS person, totally understand. We're talking about niche stuff here. But for me, I'm in heaven, and they nailed it. They absolutely crushed this game. Hats off, bravo to everybody at Xbox who had a hand in making this happen.
And I heard they got Gandalf over there at Microsoft working on them controls, and it came out amazing.
Listen, again, we talked about this so many times about, what this means to have RTSs coming back after 360 era where we got a ton of them, and then nothing basically in the Xbox One generation. Now we're seeing the return. This is the first of many this year. We've got Anno 1800 coming from Ubisoft, which is a city builder RTS coming out in April, which I'll be hopping on. We've got Company of Heroes coming out this summer, which is a World War II RTS, which I'm going to be all over. And then we get Age of Empires 4 at the end of the year as well. But to start off the year like this, again, Metacritic sitting at an 87. Like, I was even shocked when I started seeing the scores. And then I started reading the reviews, and everybody talked about how great the controls were and how natural it felt. And then I knew that they had done their homework and had done their job, because Age of Empires 2 is in a completely different category as far as complexity goes than like a Halo Wars 2 that was built from the ground up for a console. This is a 25-year-old PC game, folks, that was meant to only run on PCs back in the day. So the controls were heavy keyboard and mouse. Heavy. And they nailed it. The controls on the Xbox controller are perfect. I haven't even gotten to the advanced controls yet. They have a whole advanced system as well, where I can start grouping my, armies into different groups and controlling them that way. Haven't got to that point yet, but I've already got about 15, 16 hours in, played single player stuff. And then we've been rocking Mav, Jasper, even Psychonauts jumped in with us one night. We've been rocking just, us versus the AI, stepping up the difficulty levels, getting used to it, having an immense ton of fun. Last night, we hopped off Xbox Ultimate. I was like, I got to get one game in, guys. Let's go with one game. I thought maybe an hour, right? Because we're going against AI. We've been doing pretty good. I'm like, hour, right? I'll get to bed. I get to bed early. I got living split screen in the morning. I'll get to bed, get a good night's sleep. Yeah, no. Almost 2.5 hours later, man, we got into this epic match against 3 AI, and we had a comeback like you would not believe. We thought we were dead. At least I did, because Mav was knocked out within 30, 40 minutes. He got knocked out. I got knocked out right after he did. He's rebuilding his entire civilization behind my civilization. That's how bad it got. Jasper's rocking and rolling, because of course Jasper played this on PC a ton, so he knows what he's got going on. So he was trying to help out as much as possible. They crush my entire army out, start taking down my castle. Mav finally gets rebuilt enough to start sending a little bit of help. Jasper's splitting his groups up into 2, trying to give us some support and trying to also keep the enemy busy. Finally come back. It takes forever. Mav finally gets enough army together. I get enough army together. We can hold back the most powerful one, the light blue team. And then finally we make our push and we win, but it took almost 2.5 hours. It just moments like that, man. Unbelievable special. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition is a win, and that's the world I'm living in right now. So having a great time.
Awesome. I knew you. I don't know how I could forget about that. I knew that was coming out. I knew that's what you were gonna. That's the only thing you were gonna be playing as soon as it dropped. Unless that and Starfield dropped the same week. That was the only chance that you weren't playing Age of Empires. Correct. So I already knew that. But shout out to everybody in chat. Black Card, Decado again, Talos. What's up, Lewis, Jose? Shout out to everybody watching this live. Hope you guys are enjoying the show, man. We're just getting started. So come in. Kick your shoes off, hang out, grab you a drink out the fridge, and hang out with us, man. So this over to you, Fuzz. How you been this week? What you been playing, brother?
Oh, man. As good as I can be for the most part. Glad to be here and everything. But, man, just having a lot of fun with a PC early access game called Undisputed. A lot of you might know it as ESBC, or formerly know it as ESBC Boxing. For anyone that was a Fight Night fan back in the day, this is as close as we can get, probably until EA realizes that they're sleeping on a hit, and hopefully they do another Dead Space versus Callisto Protocol type of thing and bring it out. But in the meantime, if you're into boxing games, this is definitely something to try out on PC. It's $30, being in early access on Steam. A lot of fun. Some jankiness, some stiffness on some things where you can knock people out the ring
Yeah, I saw
with
that.
the
Good
ragdoll
Lord.
effects. But overall, other than some of those that are just throwing haymakers and hooks and whatnot online, it's a lot of fun. And against the AI, it's actually more fun to play against the pro AI than it is the beginner or intermediate, amazingly enough. So it's definitely a worthwhile game to give a try. But yeah, it's going to need some work before they do the full release. But other than that, it's hours of fun. It's got 50 boxers in it, probably about 15 of them for like the female boxing leagues and things like that. But mixture of like current day and classic boxers throughout different weight classes. And yeah, it's been occupying my time. If you've been seeing my timeline, it's been taking up most of my time. But man, can't wait to get into these topics. Glad to be here. Glad we got Gaming Positive on here tonight. And man, let's do this.
Let's get into it. And the chat is disappointed, Fuzz. Well, I guess not quite disappointed. They said fighting is kind of like NASCAR. So they need the NASCAR. They need the race talk. But I'm sure, Fuzz, we got plenty of that coming up. So we'll get into that. But shout out to everybody watching live. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself, man. We're just getting started. Like I said earlier, man, come in, kick your shoes off, hang out with us, man. So let's get into the meat of the show. And we are starting with the poll of the week, man. You guys know what it is. Shout out to the over 300 people who partook in this last poll of the week, man. It was a fun one. Once again, if you're not familiar with that, I put it up on my Twitter account every Monday. Come follow me there. All of that's down in the description. And then we talk about it every Saturday here at the Shop Podcast. So I had a real fun one this week. And obviously, we're talking about Hi-Fi Rush, right? Probably the biggest game to come out this year as far as, just out of nowhere, as far as the community being really excited and, the biggest surprise in 2023 thus far, in my opinion. I think a lot of us could take a poll and we'd probably be on the same side. But let's dive into it, man. Poll of the week was, with Hi-Fi Rush being a huge hit, what would you rather see from Xbox and Tango Gameworks going forward with the IP? So we're talking about the future. And we touched on this last week a little bit in the podcast about what we want to see going forward with this IP. It was such a phenomenal hit. It can go so many different directions because it satisfies so many different things that, Xbox and Microsoft can utilize the IP. So we're going to start with you, our guest, Game Positive. The options were DLC, sequel, TV, movie, show, or other. And sequel won 61%. So 61% of the 300 plus people that voted want another Hi-Fi Rush. So part 2 or something along those lines. So where are you at, man? 1, did you play the game? 2, if you played it, out of those options, what would you choose?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of playing it right now. I'm working on some content for Hi-Fi Rush. I'm pretty deep in the weeds in that game right now. Sorry, is it what I want them to do first?
But just going forward, yeah. Like, what would you want them to do first going forward? If they handed you the IP and say, okay, what's the next step? What are you doing with it?
Okay, so next step, first thing that they need to do, in my opinion, is move the IP to a different medium, like a TV show, or I wouldn't say a movie. I would say a TV show, like an animated TV show. Only reason why I say that over a sequel, because obviously a sequel is what we really, really want.
Yeah,
is because they're working on another game right now. They're working on the Evil Within 3 or something along those lines. Like Shinji Mikami's leading a team of developers, which is probably what that whole team, like all hands on deck, is probably on what this next game is after Hi-Fi Rush went out the door, which on its own was a small project anyway. And game developers or game development teams are like massive, like frigates or like huge ships. You can't just turn them on a dime like that. That's why it's taking so long for all these acquisitions to bear fruit, because like it takes years to do stuff like this. And I don't know if they planned on Hi-Fi Rush being as big as it is out of the gate. I don't think
so. Well, Phil even came out and said it in the interview he recently had. He said, yeah, they were surprised by the reception that it got.
Yeah, I think they anticipated it to be a good game. I think they anticipated it to like maybe be critically well received, but I don't think they anticipated it to be so like well loved by players and played so much. I definitely think that sequel is in the plans, and I want the sequel to be like a full like $70 game. Like
Same.
not that there's anything wrong with what they delivered. I don't think it was too short or anything like this, but I want this to become a legit Xbox IP where we're looking at sequels, we're looking at merchandise, we're looking at collector's editions. Please, there's still time to make one for this game, limited run, something like that. But yeah, I think the fastest thing that they should do, or the first thing they should do, is probably look at one of the many streaming services to try and get the ball rolling on a TV show, because that they can spin that up quicker. It keeps like eyes on the IP. The whole game itself is made for a TV show. Like it literally is an anime, like the cutscenes within the game.
Yeah.
As I'm playing it, like I even tweeted out that like give me a comic book, give me an anime, give me a TV show. Like I just want more of this universe. It's perfectly tied to fit into all of those mediums. So I would say the first thing that they should do is talk about getting some type of transmedia going with this IP, and then obviously work on a big sequel after whatever they're currently doing.
And there we are with the transmedia, the first buzzword of the podcast. So yeah, so Pong's gonna like that one. We gonna transition real good in a Pong on that one. But yeah, no, I agree with that idea as well too. If I just want to go ahead and just get my opinion in here. I mean, like you said, the sequel is the obvious choice, right? But like you said, that takes time due to the scale, right? They didn't know, they didn't prepare. They had no idea that the game was going to take on the form that it did and be just a critical and a commercial success as it currently is. So that takes time to kind of ring that in. Okay, what are we doing now, right? Like, where are we going with this? We have a far larger audience looking at us now. So what are we doing next, right? So I thought about maybe DLC even. That kind of makes sense because, there's enough playability in the game. I just don't know how long it would take to get DLC out. Would that make sense? So a show, like you said, the benefit of a TV show is I don't think that would take as long, especially an animated show. I don't think that would take as long, and it would still like you said, it will continue to put the game in people's faces. The characters are already beloved. And I think if you broaden that scope, I think if Hi-Fi Rush dropped during like the VGAs, it probably would have been crazy. And it's crazy to think that they were sitting on it and they probably had it and could have dropped it then, but they decided to do it at their own show, which is completely fine. You can't argue with the results. We're playing Monday morning quarterback, right? So, we do the best we can. But ultimately, I agree with your overall point. So, chat, let us know what do you guys want to see out of this IP going forward, out of the options on the poll. If you didn't even vote, go ahead and let us know in chat. What do you guys think? And we're going to transition right over to Pong. Pong, that transmedia word again, man. You talked about that first here at the Shop Podcast. So we got the receipts. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, my boy Lars over at Embracer Group. He's the one that started using that a lot, right, in his interviews after they made a lot of their acquisitions over there. Love transmedia because I think it's so important going forward, especially in this day and age, for video games in particular. And we see that already. Again, the crossovers are great. So I can't argue with either one of your points. I can't argue with Game Positive breaking it down. I immediately start on a sequel. I immediately break off a team, and I understand that it might be all hands on deck for Evil Within, but I give John Johannes a small team, and I start storyboarding the sequel immediately. And figuring out which way we want to go next with this game. You got to capitalize on something like this. You have to. Something of this quality that comes along and hits the way that Hi-Fi Rush has is something that we don't see all the time. And I think that you've got to pivot, even if it's hard to do internally within the studio. I know Shinji is all about bringing up this younger talent. We talked about this. This is the moment of his career where he wants to become that mentor. And we've already seen that they do have smaller teams within Tango Gameworks as it is right now. Obviously, Ghostwire Tokyo was not done by the main team either. But Shinji is trying to develop young talent. And obviously, John Johannes now is a known commodity. He is somebody who's up and coming as a developer. So I think you do give him the resources, go to Microsoft and say, look, we need to get started on a sequel. We want to start the process. We're going to need some more resources. We need to hire some people, whatever we got to do. We got to get this ball rolling.
I'm sure they won't have an issue. I'm sure that's a quick conversation. Yeah.
No. And like Game Positive said, the next one, make it a full-bodied game,
sure.
Even though I can argue that this game is already a full-bodied game, even though, again, I'm not playing it except for that first level because it's not my style of game. I still know quality when I play quality, and I still know a hit when I see a hit in the gaming world. So I want to see a full body game the next time around, a full price game. Make it big, make it explosive. We talked about it. You can bring in other different music genres, hip hop, whatever, classical. I mean, there's so many different things you could do now that that people are enjoying the mechanics behind it, and they're enjoying the style of it. You go full bore. But Game Positive also brought up the great point too with the transmedia. You get on it and you start working on where you want to take this game as far as whether it's Netflix, whether it's a movie, a short form movie, whatever the case is, you figure that out now and you get to work on it so that when the sequel does go into production, and make no mistake, whether they start right now or whether they wait until after the next big game comes out from Tango, if that is the new Evil Within, which a lot of people assume it is, they need this in place to, again, continue the form of success that they found with this IP. Because as we talked about last week, this is a brand new IP that Microsoft owns, and it's a brand new IP that has very marketable characters. Chai and 808 can become the faces in a lot of ways, or one of the faces or two of the faces within Xbox of characters that people recognize all over the world. Again, this isn't just popular in the West. This is popular in the East too, which is a huge point, right? Tango Gameworks is from the East. They are a Japanese studio. These characters can give you some more, stepping stones over in the East as well if you promote them properly. So get on it, because you want those things to go hand in hand. Whether, again, it's a TV show, a short form movie, whatever the case may be, you want that ready to rock and roll sometime in between now and when the sequel is going to come out. So I agree with all the points made and your points as well, PTK. We got to keep this ball rolling. Don't sit on it. Don't wait for it to die down. I'm not saying that you got to turn around and have a new game in a year. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying get on it now and keep this ball rolling because you need this. This is a huge moment for Xbox. Even if you look at it as a smaller game, man, it's outselling some of the big games. And there's you can't find that every day. It just doesn't happen that way anymore. So yes, get on the ball. Get things moving in the right direction, but I agree wholeheartedly.
100%. I 100% agree. And once again, chat, let us know what you guys think. What are we doing with Hi-Fi Rush going forward? If they handed you the keys, what is your first move going forward with Hi-Fi Rush? So shout out to everybody in chat. But I agree 110% too, Pong. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a super fast turnaround. Like you said, we're not talking 10 to 12 months or anything like that. But I'm almost 100% sure that they've already when them numbers came back Monday morning.
Yeah,
and Phil saw that chart, like, God damn, like this is not what we expected. Like, Jesus
especially
Christ,
that Steam chart, especially.
Call Shinji right now. I don't care if he's asleep. Call him right now. Wake him up. We need to have a conversation. Like, this is serious. Like you said, this does not happen. It had a I don't say a Nintendo level effect, but it had a Nintendo level type impact. And
Correct.
Xbox doesn't get that very often, where it's a consensus across the board. Everybody's like, this is a good goddamn game.
And it's an all ages game as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
for everybody.
Yes, which is awesome. I mean, again, marketability off the charts, and you can grow this thing, and you can grow this thing beyond what you ever imagined you could have initially. But you got to get on it. You can't let it die. So.
Absolutely. And like you said, transmedia could be that vehicle, to do that. Like you said, the characters, like you said, over there in the East, those characters, 808 would be a hit. Over there in the East, even here, like you said, there's so much marketability between the characters. I even enjoy all of the bad guys. That's how much I enjoy the game. Each bad guy is super unique. They're very enjoyable. None of them got on my nerves. That's very rare that happens in a game. Generally the intent is to hate the bad guy, but I really enjoyed each and every bad guy I came across as far as like a main boss. But let's throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion, man. What's the next step? You going with the field here? Are we saying a sequel right away, or we going one of the other options?
I'm always a guy that wants like all of the above kind of deal. I mean, I originally voted like DLC on the poll, just because like with them doing the deluxe edition with the different outfits and things along those lines. I think things along those lines could definitely work, whether it's just more skins, more songs, more levels, things along those lines added to this particular game before you do the full-on sequel. But a lot of things that I've been seeing on, as far as like other people on social media, I think the time is now to just do or lean into the additional like controllers or plush toys and things along those lines. Like I think that's the stuff that, people are going to want to collect. They're going to want to have that controller. Like I just made a post recently, giving kudos to James Shields. He made like an 808 elite controller in design.
Send that to me. I didn't get to see that. You got to send that.
Yeah, so it's like you can make everything from the controllers to kind of simulate some of the colors and stuff in the game, or you could go out and do like what's his name, Reckless, that's also on Twitter, make a plush toy of 808 or something along those lines. I think there's so much stuff that they can do with this IP sequel. That's a must have. If they don't, I mean, if James Shields doesn't, or not James Shields, I'm sorry, Johannes doesn't get his own like little team to continue working on this game, I know he's probably needed for Evil Within as well, or whatever new or other IP that they're working on currently. But I think that this is one of those. It may not be a tentpole IP just yet, but it's one that they should definitely lean into while the moment's hot, kind of thing. Plush toys, controllers, DLC, more songs, more levels. And it doesn't have to be like tomorrow. Like if they can do something within a 2-year turnaround, I think that's good enough. While a new sequel is being worked on, let's say 5 years down the road from now, kind of thing. I think that's the timing you need. But I do agree with you guys as far as like the transmedia aspect and having a cartoon or some sort of show to go along with this. Netflix has been a good example of how that stuff definitely ties into, cross sales back on the game itself and just interest in the IP in general and the expansion of the story. So all of the above works, but I think you can easily, probably the fastest turnaround thing would be a controller, a plush toy, something of that effect, and then go from there. And then everything else will kind of fall in place. But they better not sleep on this IP.
Yeah,
they better kind of lean into the fray for a good bit, and just keep expanding on this, because we kind of lost out when it came to what do you call it, Sunset Overdrive. That's one of those that should have been kind of like a tentpole for Xbox last gen, but it was just, it came at the wrong time, or it wasn't that. It was one of those things that I guess Xbox couldn't lock down, because that was the whole point. Insomniac wanted to, I guess, hold on to that IP. And looking back at it, it's like hindsight's 2020. I don't know if there was ever a chance of Xbox acquiring them, but man, oh man, we got a definite, well, not we, but Xbox definitely needs to do more with this IP for future and stuff. But toys, things along those lines, that's the easy start point. And then everything else kind of falls in place after.
Just no Netflix live action version, okay?
Yeah, no. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that at all.
But think about this, Fuzzy. To your point too, with the plushies and toys, it was a great point, brother. 808 easily becomes a mascot for Xbox. Easily becomes a mascot. If you have commercials, your Xbox commercials, if you have your marketing team go to work right away, and the whole Xbox, when we get the Xbox symbol that pops up and all that kind of stuff in the Xbox commercials, if you had 808 the cat, even in Xbox colors, walking around the Xbox symbol or whatever the case may be, purring or whatever the heck may be, man, you got an opportunity, especially like I said in the East, where that stuff really plays well. To have a full-fledged mascot. We all know Chief is the face of Xbox, right? Still to this day, even despite Halo Infinite's problems, he's still the face. He's the first thing people think of when you say Xbox. But as a mascot, 808 would be perfect. Absolutely perfect, man.
It's crazy because what I thought I saw in Ori, I see in 808. So Ori didn't quite pan out like I thought it would, and I had hoped Xbox and Microsoft would utilize Ori, but I understand that's a different situation with the studio, things like that. It didn't really pan out. 808, this is all Xbox. Like there's no
Mhm.
in between. There's no, well, we want to keep the IP. This is really ours. We're just kind of letting you, kind of, market this as yours kind of
Right.
deal. This is all Xboxes. Like this is something that they can definitely capitalize on hugely. And I kind of want to throw this back to you, Game Positive, and get you back in on the conversation here. If you don't mind, I want to double back on something. So I know you mentioned the idea. You said no movie, a TV show, correct? So that's where you would go first, would be a TV show. Why TV show first?
I feel like with TV shows, they kind of play better with video games because you can tell a better story, or a longer story, I should say, and you can kind of dive into the characters a little bit more. The way that the games are structured, especially this game, there's like different levels. Like you have different levels that are like the different bosses kind of areas and layers, and it kind of just meshes well with like different episodes of a TV show. I find oftentimes with movies, if it's some type of source from a different medium, and you're trying to cram it all into like 120-minute or less runtime, it can get a little bit messy. So that's why I would say TV show. One thing I will say too, that's a little bit aside from that, is I would also focus now, like quickly, on locking down John Johannes. I think he is like a unicorn. I think he has like a unique perspective where he, I'm assuming, grew up in the West, but has had a career and speaks the language in the East and has relationships and camaraderie in the East. I think that not necessarily like opening another studio and giving it to him or anything like that, but just making sure that he's feeling the love right now and he's locked in. And if he's like vehemently against like whatever plan they have, then they need to just reverse and go with what he's saying, because like he and also like he's media savvy. Like he's in tons of interviews. He's a likable guy. He's the type of person that you want to be like the face of like the Western side, I guess, of Tango. Cause I know, like, I think it was Pong said that they need to like get a bunch of more developers on, build a team up and stuff like that. It's difficult to do that in Japan. It's going to get easier the more like good games that they release now, but there's like a limited amount of developers in Japan that are going to work for Microsoft. It's just like, there's just still kind of a wall there. But if you have somebody who is kind of on both sides of the fence, sort of like he can relate to both sides. He speaks Japanese fluently. He's lived there forever. He has camaraderie with people there, and he's like out and he can communicate with people in the West properly. He's lived there. He's got everything. He's got it all. So he can be a recruiter on both sides. And I just think that Xbox needs to have like the Neil Druckmanns, the Cory Barlogs, like locked down, and he potentially could grow into something like that.
You know what? We've never had that conversation explicitly on this podcast, how important that is. You know what I mean? Like those figureheads. But I know Pong, and I kind of want you to elaborate on what he said, Pong, because that's a very Pong-like statement that he just made. And I know for real. And I had to get
is that a compliment?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, cool.
Pong is
carry on.
Pong's never wrong, by the way. Just so you know, like
that's not true. That's not true. Let's not go there.
He's just being modest, GP. Don't worry about it. But
no.
I just want to, because something I hadn't considered that, and you did mention that, Pong. I hadn't thought about making sure you foster that talent and keeping it in house, because more so than now, there's talents getting plucked up. These studios and these larger publisher out here, they see this talent, they see what's going on, and they will drop a bag real quick and say, "Here's your studio. You can go do something. Here's $10 million. Go make us a game." So it is important that they do develop that talent. So I kind of wanted you to elaborate on that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've had conversations similar to this before, because through all the acquisitions, obviously Microsoft and Xbox have picked up a ton of some of the biggest dev names out there. I mean, again, there's only so many devs and game producers that by their name, right? The Cory Barlogs, the Neil Druckmanns, obviously the God Howards, those are few and far between in this industry. Now, obviously, as the number one entertainment form in the world, it's becoming more kind of and us, especially in the community, because we talk about this all the time, we get to know more of these people, but Xbox has locked down a bunch of them. But Todd Howard's getting up there. Shinji's getting up there. They can't do this forever. I mean, this is a job you can do for a lot longer if you want to, but most of the time people do want to move on at some point. So the younger talent, to Game Positive's point, you do have to make sure that you're cultivating it, developing it, but then also keeping it in-house, because we've seen what one person, one extremely good development leader. Let's put it that way. One extremely good leader can do to an entire company in Vince Zampella. Right?
Yep.
Vince Zampella is turning EA's fortunes around by himself. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people behind the scenes. It's still about making great games. But Vince Zampella seemingly from the outside single-handedly changed people's minds within EA about what a successful game meant and how single-player games that didn't need to be monetized to all hell could still be viable this day and age. And so that stuff is, you can't put an exact value on it when you find a talent like that. And Game Positive is right, because we did talk about this now, and I kind of mentioned in my comments too, John Johannes is now a known quantity.
Yeah.
He's no longer an unknown right now because of this. He's been out here doing all these interviews. He's been everywhere. Like Game Positive said, he's kind of like the face, like Shinji, even in, the developer direct turned
like,
him
it's your
and said,
game.
Yeah, it's your game. Go ahead. It was kind of a passing of a torch moment. Shinji was there for the support and as the, kind of the face of Tango, but he said it in interviews. He is now about the mentorship and bringing up this younger talent. And you can see how he means that when in that single moment, when he turned to John and said, no, this is your game. Go ahead. So now that you know this guy does have great ideas, there's no reason to believe it's a one-hit wonder that he can't replicate or he doesn't have any more good ideas. Of course not. He's a creative. So not to say that he's going to make the next biggest thing we've ever seen before, but he is a known talent that you have to make sure stays in-house and is happy and can grow even further as he gets better and better at his craft. Because let's be real, he's still in the young stages, right? He's still in the young part of his career. This is his first game that he's done like this that has now exploded. You got to make sure that he's happy and he has room to grow and he can continue to feel like he's moving up as he gets more and more experience in this world. And if he starts popping out hit after hit, if he's one of those unicorns, as Game Positive said, that just comes along and changes things, how we think about some certain genres of games or style of games, then yeah, you got to make sure he's in your bag and nobody else can touch him, because you want that talent in-house all the time.
Oh yeah. And I absolutely think, I don't know what, to the extent those conversations are being had, but I do think those conversations are being had. And and you're right. I think it was quite evident what Shinji was doing on stage. He said it was in his body language. It was in his actual speech. You know what I mean? Like, look, this is a passing the torch situation. I'm not going to be doing this forever. And it is absolutely 100% pertinent that you get this talent, keep it, foster it, like they said. So great warm-up topic. So we just jogged in here. Shout out to some people watching: Shane, Controller, Blue, everybody, man. Talos hanging out with us. Once again, retweet, hit the like button, all of that good stuff, man. Appreciate you guys supporting us here at the Shop Podcast. So we're going to move on to the second topic here at the Shop Podcast. So we're going to just go ring around the rosy here. So I'll throw out the first one, and then we'll get into yours, Pong. So I wanted to get into a little bit about the Gear 6 stuff. I wanted to kind of get that out of the way first, because that's super duper interesting. So we got some information earlier this week that the coalition, due to the layoffs that were happening, the Microsoft-wide layoffs, I assume, I'm pretty sure that that's what they were talking about. They had to stop development on 2 games that they were working on. One of those games, obviously, I think that was the game we were probably getting next from them. That essentially got canned based on what we're hearing. And now all of their development is now all in on Gear 6. So I want to get in on that. One, it is a bit surprising that this happened. Obviously, we didn't know to the extent with these layoffs, how they would affect like game development. Now we're kind of seeing the trickle down effect. It does suck on one hand, because things like this do happen as part of the business. At the same time, we do understand. So I'm still excited. Another Gears, obviously, that's a big deal. It's been a few years since we had one. It's about time for them to start thinking about that. So we're gonna start with you, Game Positive. One, what'd you think when you first heard the news? Second of all, are you actually excited? What's your expectation for the next Gears?
Yeah, so I'm a massive fan of Gears of War, like probably all you guys are. And with Gears 6, there is like some cause for concern here. Like Rod Ferguson's been with the franchise since day one. He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. Yep.
Ryan Clevin, he's been basically the mastermind behind the multiplayer modes in the more modern Gears games. He's gone. In fact, if you go on Microsoft's like jobs website right now, they have postings for senior multiplayer designers for the coalition, which is obviously not a good sign. But I mean, I'm game positive here, so I'm going to look at the bright side of things. And what the other side of the coin is that this is a chance for kind of a fresh start for Gears. I don't know if I would even call it Gears 6, because you're going to have a new lead at the studio. You're going to have like brand new people in senior positions designing the games. I think that Gears 5 can act as kind of like a transition to like a new style of Gears of War, because I think one of the biggest takeaways from Gears 5, in my opinion, was the segments of the game that take place in like wide linear, I'm not going to call it open worlds, but like big wide linear environments where you have different it's very much like a slice out of God of War in terms of how the levels are designed. You can walk through this kind of large area and go to your main objective, or you can kind of meander around and find different things to do. I think that that's far superior to like the mission 1, mission 2, mission 3 kind of way that it used to be. So it's kind of a turning point. And I think that if they can get the right talent in there and kind of change some things, they can really elevate Gears of War. I think that Gears as a franchise last gen was kind of like the only real kind of stable franchise. Like Halo, I'm a fanboy for Halo, so I'm not objective at all in Halo.
Yeah.
I think all the Halos were awesome, but clearly I'm in the minority there. There was problems with a lot of the Halos post Halo 3. So I don't think it was as kind of, I don't know, Gears of War just was very steady, but I don't think that it really blew the doors off anybody either after Gears 3. I think it's kind of, it hasn't dipped to as low as to the lows of Halo from the majority's perspective, but it hasn't really reached the highs of some of the games that it's like competing against from its Xbox's competitors. So having fresh faces in there can really elevate the series if they make the right moves and do the right things. And I mean, recent history is showing us that Xbox is doing the right things and making the right moves. So I have no reason to believe that they're going to stop doing that. And I am kind of excited about this. Having job postings for like senior positions for multiplayer is kind of concerning. I'm not sure what the turnaround time for this is going to be. And I'm not sure if any of this is even real either, because it's not like Microsoft's out here confirming what's going on.
We want to make sure we put that out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I will say that it's weird that it's been so long between Gears games. Like just like Halo was before Infinite, they were very consistent in terms of their cadence for releasing games. And I think Gears 5 came out in 2019. So we're at year 3 right now, which is when we would typically expect a new Gears game, and we don't even have an announcement for one yet. So if they're just starting a new Gears game and they abandon whatever they were doing, I know that they worked on the Matrix demo for Unreal 5, and they've helped with other games and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not really sure. The other aspect is that they could be transitioning 343 into kind of the same mold that 343 is going into. Did I say 343 twice? I meant the Coalition transitioning to what 343 is doing, or what World's Edge is doing, where they're curators for an IP and they're facilitating different games from different developers. Same thing with Mojang. Because I kind of think in general, like this might be going beyond the topic, but I think in general, the idea of creating a studio to only make one IP forever, like just churn out big budget games with one IP forever, I think that's a bad idea. I think that's why people leave, is because they want to make new things. I think that Neil Druckmann would have left Naughty Dog if they were Uncharted Factory. I think that you could say the same with other game, like Cory Barlog did leave Santa Monica because they were a God of War factory. He ended up coming back, but still, I think that the transitioning those studios that are literally named after the IP that they make games for into kind of curators of that IP and creating games like the same way that World's Edge makes Age of Empires games and how Mojang makes Minecraft games through different teams. I think that could be the way to go as well.
Okay. No, a lot of great input on that. And that's a lot of great points too, just regarding. And once again, we want to take this with a grain of salt. So nothing is absolutely confirmed yet. Once again, Monday morning quarterback in here, but it is a lot to consider, a lot to think about as well, especially seeing the time between, like you said, this is about around the time we start hearing about the next Gears. We start getting the ramp up. We start getting official announcements, and we haven't had one at all. Now, we understand it's been noted for a very long time that they're doing other things. So we knew this wasn't going to be the normal Gears cycle. So I don't want y'all to think we ignorant. We do understand that as well too. But we're just kind of laying everything out here. So we're gonna throw this over to you, Paul, and get your opinion on this, man. Once again, none of it's confirmed as of yet. Just spitball and fantasy football here.
Yeah. So there's a couple different things with this, and to Game Positive's thoughts there, I agree wholeheartedly. Said this multiple times. I know there's people out in this community that say 343 was was brought to actually take over Halo, and that's all they're supposed to do, and that's the whole purpose behind the studio, and the same with the Coalition. That's what they were hired to do. They all raised their hand and said they only want to work on Gears, and so they formed the studio that way, and all this kind of stuff. These people are all creatives, and I've always said it, PTK, on this show and everywhere else. I want creatives to create, and I want them to have the freedom. That's how we get the Hi-Fi Russians. That's how we get Pentiments. That's how we get Groundeds, right? That's how we get Sea of Thieves. Creatives creating is what this whole industry is about. And yes, while I understand that, of course, a franchise like Halo or Gears, of course, which we're talking about here, does need special care. And I do want dedicated teams that obviously understand the IP, that can move the IP forward, that can have consistency with that IP. That's important as well. But at some point, I'd love to see every studio break out and try something new, because you don't know what you're going to get. You could get the next big thing. I was excited for whatever the small kind of test, UE5 test, Unreal Engine 5 testing game that Coalition was working on. I was excited to see what this was, because I want, these people, sure, their whole lives are Gears because that's what they work on, but they sit around on breaks, they sit around at dinners with each other and banter about ideas, about what they would do if they weren't working on Gears. And I'm sure there's been some great stuff in there that we'll never know about, right? That just have come up in conversation. Maybe some of them have storyboarded their own games at this point, right? I'd love to see that come to fruition, and I'd love to see what they've got in them. But here we are now, and if the rumors are as they suggest, and again, Grubb had a busy week. Shout out to Jeffrey Grubb, love the man. He had a busy week because in the beginning of the week he confirmed that he said on Xbox 2+1 that he thought that we'd see the Coalition's new IP in 2024, and then later in the week on Giant Bomb he said, I checked in on the Coalition, and those were part of the layoffs that we heard about, and they actually had 2 projects outside of Gears in the works, and both of them are canceled, and now it's full go on Gears 6. So listen, I'm excited for Gears 6 to see what they do. I think that they've got to end the trilogy correctly. Not to say that that's an absolute requirement, but obviously with where the story's at, with the whiny kids that I don't like, that they need to finish this off. And they need to tie a bow on it and then go from there. And just like Halo, Gears has a big giant universe with lore. We saw this in Hivebusters and Scorpio Squad. They have an opportunity to expand this universe. Gears is getting a live action show and an anime on Netflix. Now's the time, again, to strike that iron. And if you tie, a nice pretty bow on this trilogy, then you have the opportunity to go in different directions. And of course, anybody who's listening to the show, when we talk about Gears, my feelings. We need to get Gears back to dark. We need to get Gears back to the heavy, gritty, dirty that the first trilogy was, because that's where Gears thrives. So I want to see them get back to that. And we saw instances of in Hivebusters. Hivebusters was a great example of what can be done, and it gives me hope because it shows me that the team still understands what that original trilogy means and the feeling that it gives us, because there was a lot of the original trilogy in Hivebusters. So I'm excited to see what they do. I want to see how this ends. Again, 4 and 5 to me are meh. I'm big giant Gears fans. Gears is one of my favorite franchises, but it's all based upon 1 through 3. So 4 and 5 are okay. I want to see this finished off right. Maybe they do go heavy in 6. Maybe they put the kids through even more hell and get dirty and get dark. I'd love to see it. I think it would change it back in that tone. And then moving forward, you can set off in a new direction. But, again, just to wrap it up, I'm sad that we're not going to see these 2 projects, because I think that creative team could do something incredible that we weren't expecting. But, I understand that Gear 6 needs to get going. They are wizards at the Coalition. We talked about dates on PM and the PM, and me and Steele talked about this morning. Like, how long do we think that they need to turn around? Jeff Grubb said it's been in production for the past, or sometime within the past year. So depending on how long that is, they probably had 6 storyboarded. They probably had the, main plots of the story kind of laid out previously. So can they turn around in 3 years, 2 years, maybe? Mav thinks 2025. Me and Steele both kind of lean towards 2026. But whenever this starts ramping up with the live action show coming out, and then the anime coming out, Gears is going to be riding a hype train again. And it'll be fun to watch to see if they can cap it off with an ending to this trilogy that is appropriate and that hits the right way. Again, multiplayer, listen, they're kind of in the same boat as Halo. You're never going to make the entire Gears fan base happy with anything you do in the multiplayer. Just go do and make the best damn multiplayer side of Gears that you can make. If it's sweaty, if it's hardcore, so be it. Then just go do that and embrace it. Don't try to go outside the box. Don't try to say, oh, we want to bring more people into this. Just make the best damn Gears multiplayer that you can. And let the fan base be what the fan base is going to be at that point. But I'm excited because I do like Gears and I want to see how they finish this one off.
Awesome. We got a lot of feedback in the chat. Shout out to Zinc. Shout out to Talos. Everybody in chat, man. A lot of Gears heads. A lot of Gears fans, man. It's a touchy subject because the one thing that I do know is the more that changes, the more that stays the same. So like we ask for more, and people are like, no. Go back to doing the other stuff that you did before. So it's kind of weird, but we're all over the place. It's kind of what it is when we're gamers. But obviously, I think all of us want to see the Gears franchise in the right place. I enjoy the franchise. I don't really think there's a bad Gears game. Some people would call Judgment a bad game. I think it has its place amongst the Gears universe. It wasn't the most palatable game for a lot of people, especially the timing when they dropped it. But I understand, and it did what it needed to do for the story for me. That's a personal thing, so I'm not as critical on that, but I enjoyed 4, enjoyed 5. Didn't play as much 5. It didn't grip me as much, but the game was beautiful game. Obviously one of the best looking games of last generation. Probably top 3, top 5 in my opinion. I love Kate. I think Kate's an awesome character. It did get a lot of mislabels. That didn't help as well. People calling the game woke, things like that, which is a bit silly. It has people of color in it. Relax. Like, it's not that big a deal. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
It always has.
Yeah, it always like, come on. What are we talking about? Like, what are we talking about? Like, really? Like,
yeah.
Come on. Now, where we at? You know how it goes. I had to get that out the way. But I'm off the soapbox now. We're gonna go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion. Once again, this isn't confirmed. I don't want anybody in chat clipping this and putting it on YouTube. Like, these guys don't know what they're talking about. This isn't confirmed, but where are we at if this is true?
See, I'm kind of torn on the whole deal because from my standpoint, I didn't hear when they were talking about the layoffs at Microsoft. I didn't hear Coalition's name mentioned at all. It was just 343 and Bethesda. So
no, the Coalition was mentioned.
It was mentioned.
It was mentioned because everybody was wondering where it affected Bethesda and Coalition because we didn't get details on it. But Coalition was one of the ones that was mentioned at that time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed weird to me because initially I didn't see any of the stuff about the Coalition. So if there were people that were like, oh, from the Coalition, I hope they land somewhere safely. It's funny. A lot of the PlayStation studios are saying, oh yeah, we have spots available and stuff like that. So it kind of sucks in the sense that some of these people are going to wind up going and working on other projects that most people that are on the Xbox platform won't ever get to see. But aside from that, real people stuff, it's a shame that people were let go. But I don't know. I still get this gut feeling that there's some sort of like leaker witch hunt that. It just seems like things go from, Coalition is working on this project that'll likely come before, Gear 6. And then a few years later, it's like, oh, this project will be done in 2024. And then like a week later, it's like, oh, no, it's been canceled. It's like, it just seems like everything is bouncing around a lot. But, if they're going to focus on Gear 6, that's great. I would have loved to have seen Coalition work on something different, like that little demo that they did with the like that diamond shaped thing that was spinning around, looked kind of cool. What they were able to do with Epic as far as for the Matrix thing was pretty cool as well. I just would have preferred to see what other cool stuff they can do. I mean, the gear stuff is great, but I kind of agree with Gaming Positive. It's like let the studios create multiple things or create different things. Don't just have them locked into one segment. I mean, they do that segment well. I mean, much like Turn 10 does with Forza, but it would always be interesting to see what other things they can try. Like we're going to kind of see or experience some of that with Playground when it comes to Fable. They've been doing a bang up job when it comes to Horizon. I would have just out of curiosity's sake, love to see what other stuff Coalition can do. But if Gear 6 is on the docket, then so be it. Hopefully everything lines up so that way it's within a reasonable amount of time, and it kind of lines up like what Pong was saying with the TV series and stuff coming down the pipeline. You always want to try to time those things within reason. I mean, kind of look at Avatar now. Ubisoft is way behind the 8 ball on that one. As far as the movie's already released, maybe they will have the game ready in time for the DVD stuff, if people even still buy DVDs or whatnot, or Blu-ray discs. But having a Gear 6 show, or not Gear 6 show, but Gears story on what was it, HBO or is it Netflix? Do you remember offhand?
Amazon. I thought it was Amazon.
Okay, Amazon. With it being on Amazon, hopefully they'll have something to tie in with the game. I mean, it doesn't have to because there's so much lore to the franchise, but having it within a reasonable amount of time would be pretty cool. But curious to see how everything pans out. Still hoping, I know it's not ultimately confirmed, but you have pretty good source given the info. I still have small hope that maybe that project didn't get completely wiped or deleted, maybe just postponed, and we get to see it at a later date, if not in the next year or so. But that's all I got.
Gear Show's actually Netflix. Follow
Netflix,
Amazon.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say it was Netflix. But so a lot of, once again, chat, I get it. I know it feels like people are being picky, things like that. Like, I mean, this is why we do this show, though, right? We get these opinions out. Not everybody likes the same thing.
Wait! Did you just say these are opinions, PTK? Oh, that's weird.
That's crazy.
That's crazy that we're on a podcast talking in opinions and editorials and not speaking like facts, right? That it's amazing that we all don't just simply agree on everything. It's really strange. But some people just are very sensitive to that. So
it makes for a compelling show if you didn't know. So no, but yeah, it's all good, Chad. We appreciate it, man. But like I said, this is a slippery slope. Gears is very, very close to people's hearts, just like Halo is, and it's tough to have these conversations, especially when they can be a bit abrasive, when they're about things like the future, when they're so unknown, so many question marks that none of us really know what the hell is going on, if we're being honest. I don't know. Once again, we have to, trust Grubb as far as you can throw him. That's a personal thing, right? That's depending on how you feel about that. But, this is our job to get up here and talk about this. We have a good time doing it. So that's what we're going to keep on doing. So let's go ahead and transition to this next topic. We're going to throw this over to you, Pong. I know you got a good one for us. A lot happened this week, brother.
Yeah, a lot did happen. You actually took my first choice, but that's okay, PTK. I'm going to let it slide this time. So, yeah, let's dive into another hotly contested one, and let's talk about Halo. Let's keep the train rolling here. Why not? So buckle up, chat. Get ready, boys and girls, because we are going to talk about everybody's favorite one is Halo in 343, and a lot of things that people said were completely wrong and lies actually turned out to be pretty true. So funny how that works, that some sources out here do get things right and they do know what they're talking about. And that's why we do discuss these things in these shows, because it's fun, at least for most of us. So none of it's personal and none of it should be taken as such. This is just a fun time. But it's great to see. Not great all the time, because obviously what happened at 343 isn't great. But it is the ever-changing part of this industry. It is the dynamic part of this industry that keeps things exciting, and always keeps people on their toes. And again, you never know what you're going to find when these things happen. You might find something good out of it, no matter what, at the end of the day. So Obviously, word came down this week that we got confirmation that, well, over the past 2 weeks, this has kind of been an evolving story. Obviously, Pierre Heinz has taken over at 343, and they are focused on the multiplayer. Keeping, making the multiplayer, updating the multiplayer, all that good stuff. That's where their focus is. And obviously, we heard about the layoffs. We knew about that from the previous week. On the campaign side of things, a bunch of them were contracted workers as well, which makes it no less awful. But part of the industry, unfortunately, when decisions are made, this is what it is. But seemingly this week, things have come to a head on some of those rumors that we talked about a long time ago when Sean W., who has his own YouTube channel, first had put out the rumors that he heard, hey, and we had a bunch of discussion on that at that time. We had, Jez come out and say not true, and then say, well, maybe it is. Well, it seems like there was an internal discussion. And again, folks, we're in speculation town because there's been no official announcements. We have nothing to confirm this. But again, there is some people that do seem to have some knowledge within the industry and do get some word. More than one person confirming that they've heard the same thing. So sounds like there was an internal debate going on about Slipspace versus Unreal. It sounds like the Unreal side universe, while 343 continues to focus on the multiplayer side for the time being. And obviously, Pierre Heinz kind of, figures out the direction going forward. And obviously, I think a lot of us expect them to rebuild 343 on the single player side and eventually get back to the mainline game, whether that's an Unreal or whether they, decide to continue to use the Slipspace engine. We will see. But as of this moment, that's kind of, I think, where everybody kind of stands. So I want to bring this up because Unreal 5 has been bantered about for a while. A lot of the, really, really hardcore Halo fans say that Slipspace, which is a form of the old Blam engine, is what gives Halo its feel. And that they're worried that you can't get that feel back in Unreal. And how is Halo going to look in Unreal? And I've talked to Mav, who's a huge Halo fan. Obviously, Steel is a huge Halo fan. There's big Halo fans everywhere. Game Positive, I heard you say that you are obviously a big Halo fan as well. So Game Positive, hearing all this news about Unreal and about Certain Affinity potentially moving to it for Tatanka, what are your hopes and dreams when it comes, if this is all reality? And again, from all signs, it shows that, it seems like this is the case, but take it with a grain of salt for now as we get official confirmation. But Game Positive, assuming that this is all real, what are your hopes and dreams for a Certain Affinity Unreal type Halo game? Are you looking, will your number one most important part of your list be that they keep the feel of Halo, or are you kind of excited in a new direction that this potentially leads for the Halo franchise as a whole? What do you think, Game Positive?
Assuming it's real, because I'm very
Yep.
much skeptical that
Sure.
this is real or even possible. I know, like, you can make the feel of Halo, you can make that kind of in any engine. Like, it's not there's not like it's not like Slipspace is like chocolate and Unreal is like vanilla, and they just don't taste the same. Like,
Yeah.
a game engine, I think, is both way more complex and way less complex than a lot of people think they are. I'm not like a AAA game developer, but I am a software developer, so I know like
Sure.
a little bit about this stuff.
Yeah.
it's just so tough because Unreal Engine is obviously like very good. Like it's very well used by so many people because it has so many tools that are like pre-built for you. So when you go to make a game, if you imagine making a game, you need a big toolbox full of tools. One of the tools might be like moving the camera. One of the tools might be like jumping, like that type of stuff. That's all given to you. You have this huge toolbox, and then your game might require a specific tool that's not there, and then you have to make that. So with Slipspace, they have every single tool that they need, and it's not going to transfer over to Unreal 1-to-1. They're going to have to like port some stuff if they can, or remake a lot of tools that they had already made. So that's like a pretty big like tech debt there in and of itself. Whether or not it can be done, absolutely it can be done. But I know one thing that's going to be really tricky is with Unreal. In general, like they kind of like burn your cache memory, like on like literally every function call. Like it's not super efficient code unless you're going to do like heavy rewrites in Unreal. And with Halo being like a physics based shooter, which is not common, there's not a lot of those. Most shooters, I can't really even think of any off the top of my head right now that are physics based. Physics definitely is very strenuous on the CPU, and Unreal is not the best at handling CPUs, and consoles have like relative to PCs weaker CPUs, so that could end up being a problem. And when you have something like Forge, which is this huge physics based sandbox with so many physics calculations happening all over the place that are specifically like built within the framework of Blam and Slipspace, that's going to cause issues. So also you have to keep in mind that like Tatanka is like part of Infinite right now. Like it's literally in the UI. There's builds of Infinite that have Tatanka like code embedded in it, and parts of the UI has Tatanka dev console stuff. Like this whole thing is still very suspicious to me. But to answer your question, I know I've kind of been rambling here.
No, go right ahead.
I like obviously it has to be the same. It has to feel the same. There's if they release like a Halo Tatanka or whatever the next project is, and it doesn't feel like Halo, then it's a giant L. Like you can't do that. And I would be very surprised if every single person at 343 didn't agree with me. Like that is like paramount. But the thing that they really need to do is decide if it's actually like the right thing to do, because I know that they have issues with Slipspace. They like the lead designer or engineer of that whole engine is gone now, so that's like very problematic. I don't know the answers to this, but the documentation thing is going to be suspicious, because if he was kind of the source of truth for all problems and solutions that you need to get with developing in Slipspace, and he's no longer there, if he didn't make good documentation, then that's going to be very difficult. The biggest kind of issue that you have as a company when you're dealing with a very specific engine like that is when you hire somebody, especially if you're doing contractors. Like this whole scenario is very weird to me, because every time you hire someone, you have to ramp them up just in the general like goings on of the business. So usually if you hire someone, even in non-tech jobs, it's going to take like a week before this new employee is like up and running with just the basic stuff. But when they also have to like relearn how to build games, which like you hired them to make games, and they have to relearn these new tools and these engines, it's very difficult. Whereas people are actively going to university to learn Unreal Engine so they can get out of university and learning Unreal Engine and get a job in the AAA games industry. Or there's senior people at other places that are coming over with knowledge of Unreal. Like if you think about it, every single person that you hire at your company, if you're a game developer in a senior position or like an impactful position, you're taking them from somebody else. Like they don't just grow on trees, right? So these people have so much experience in this one set of tools, like in Unreal or Unity or wherever they're coming from. And a lot of stuff does transfer over, like a lot of the general programming knowledge and like game design fundamentals, they obviously transfer over. Like that's just embedded in you as a like creative. But when you keep getting all these roadblocks, which is what happens with switching engines, especially with a unique proprietary engine, it's just not good. And if Microsoft wants to transition to this kind of approach where they have kind of these hubs for franchises like World's Edge and what 343 is becoming and what Mojang is, and they want to kind of have other teams kind of build on that franchise like within their own development teams, and they want them to use this specific engine, like that's going to be even harder, because now you have an entire development team trying to ramp up on this new tech that they're not used to working with. So I think that like if it was real, the most important thing would be to make sure that it's going to be easy to work, because you can't have this huge gap between Halo releases. If it's going to take an extra year or two to kind of get Halo to work on Unreal on top of the amount of time it would take just to build the next game in the first place, then that's a non-starter for me. Like you can't have a 5-year gap between Halo Infinite and whatever comes next. I think that like if Tatanka, A, if it's real, B, if it's not part of Infinite and on Unreal, then it's just this whole thing is just a mess because like they've been working on it in Slipspace, confirmed. Like there's code available you can check out. They've been working on it in Slipspace for years.
Yep.
And even if you believe the reports say that they decided to switch to this like this year, like
last update
month
was December, right?
Yeah. So that is like that means that A, the next Halo is not coming for a long time, and B, Tatanka's not coming for like shorter, but still a long time. And that is a huge, massive problem. Like you need to have this, like there was a Halo game every 3 years for like 15 years or something like that. I think it might even be longer. And then between Halo 5 and Infinite, it was 5 years, which was like a massive, or maybe it was 6 years. I can't even remember right now, but it was way longer than the standard 3 years. And if you do that again, that's like, as a Halo fan, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy the collectors. I'm going to play it. I'm going to love it. It doesn't matter, but you don't have to convince me to do that. You need to convince the people that are already kind of on the fence with Infinite. You have to convince them to wait another 5 years to come back and hope that the next game, like that's a tall order.
Yeah.
So the thing that they need to make sure that if about this engine swap, the thing that they really have to like nail down and make sure it's a good thing is that it's going to happen fast.
Right. And I think let me ask you this, with Certain Affinity being obviously the main team that's been working on something that we believe has been working on something in the Halo space for the past years to add to Infinite. Max Hoberman was a part of Bungie, right? So he's one of the OGs. If there's anybody that can figure out how to make Unreal work and make a Halo within Unreal work, it's going to be Max, right? He and his team are masters at what they do. That's why they support Call of Duty. That's why they support Halo. But he's going to know what that means to get Halo nailed down within Unreal and, you know, at least make the best attempt. If they're going to do a test bed, I think Certain Affinities, the best studio that they could have picked to do this, to see how it works, right? And to see how Halo can make that transfer work. But I agree with you. Obviously, Halo Infinite, you know, they talked about a 10-year plan, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So they obviously weren't expecting to come out necessarily with another full-fledged Halo anytime soon. But at the same point, with what has happened, what has occurred now, what we do know as facts, if you're going to make the transfer, if you're going to make the changeover, this is the time to do it, right? You kind of have to make that move. Would you agree?
Well, I think that ultimately, yes, I agree that if Slipspace is the cause of these issues that they've been having, then or Blam in general, then yes, they have to. I've read reports and people have commented, like former devs have commented that like Blam in general was like this spaghetti monster of code. It was written in like the 90s and it was like there's different documentations that like have no follow-ups and all the people that wrote it are gone and like it's just a huge mess. So I think ultimately they do need to transition to an engine like Unreal, or like my impression honestly of Slipspace, because this is how they marketed it when they announced it, was that it was from a ground up brand new engine. And it turns out it's not. It's just like kind of a branch of Blam. So it's like the same thing with some extra tools, I guess, that makes it easier for different things, or maybe they rewrote some stuff that they were having issues with. But yeah, like if their approach is we're going to have this core group of people at 343, they're going to curate Halo, the IP, and we're going to pass this IP off to other studios, and we're going to like kind of watch over what they're doing, and we're going to like be part of the production of that as from a producer's perspective, then they need to have it be consistent, which means they should be using the same engine across all the games, assuming the games are within the same genre. Like if they're making multiple FPS games or whatever, because it does have to feel like Halo, like you said, and like Mav said. They're going to need to have a platform that they're going to be able to ramp people up quickly in to be able to do it, because people are not going to keep waiting 5, 6, 7 years between Halo releases. Let me ask you a quick question too. When like, it seems like the plan might not have been to have DLC or campaign DLC internally, but like you're locked in, like you're following all the updates for Halo Infinite throughout the whole production, every single trailer, every single leak, everything. I was too. My impression, and maybe I'm crazy, but I thought that Halo Infinite was going to be AKA Infinite, or at least 10 years of consistent delivery of story.
That's what we thought as well.
my biggest question throughout the whole process leading up to release and post-release, and it's still the same question today, is what is the cadence of content for campaign going to be? Is it going to be yearly or bi-yearly, or is it going to be like 3-year big drops? Or like, I was always asking that. Every single panel I was on, every single person I talked to, I was wondering what this cadence was going to be, because I was so excited of the prospects of getting like even a mini campaign every year, or like a consistent big campaign that has like this huge like storyline that like has a big byline that goes through it all, kind of like Marvel universe type stuff.
Correct.
That's what I was excited for. And I think that's what everybody's expectation was.
Yes.
So I don't believe Jason Schreier when he says there was never any like talks of this. I think that's wrong, because I'm pretty sure they were basically positioning this as being like here's the kickoff for the story, and we're going to tell stories through this next 10 years.
Yep. Correct. And I agree wholeheartedly. And I think everybody on this panel does. And I'll get PTK on this next and get his opinion on that as well. But I absolutely agree with you, Game Positive. I think that let's say that everything that happened up to this point never happened. Let's say Halo Infinite launched when expected. It was fantastic, right? It was again, Halo Infinite was great. Everybody says it was great. Everybody liked the campaign. Multiplayer was polished. But let's say they didn't go through all the turmoil they did to get to that point, right? And we know that they did. We know that there was inner turmoil, that they had to delay it for a year and get it out. But let's say everything went off as planned originally. There's no way you're going to convince me, Game Positive, that internally they didn't have the idea to do exactly what you were just talking about. That Infinite was going to be a platform which they built off of both multiplayer and campaign expansions. And had they hit the mark, had they actually nailed the landing, and the multiplayer was the be all end all, and it was, had as many users or concurrent users as they wanted to have it originally, which I'm sure they had much bigger plans than they currently have right now, that if they had that all working for them, that yes, that's exactly what the plans were. They might not have had anything on the table because they were scrambling to get this game out the door, right? They were scrambling to fix and get the game into a state, especially the campaign side. We saw the multiplayer beta, flawless. It was beautiful, right? It was working, but they had to have all hands on deck to get the campaign out the door within that year delay. And it still was missing Forge. It was still missing all the stuff that we've all talked about. So I think if none of that had happened, absolutely we were going to see consistent campaign content. I absolutely believe that wholheartedly. The DLCs would have been great.
They literally trademarked the name of the next campaign, whatever that is, whether it's like DLC or it's literally they don't just trademark random names for no reason.
No,
I think what really happened is Jason Schreier's source didn't hear about it. Like whoever his source is, I guarantee you his source is not like the head of 343. Right. Or Joe Staten. Like that's not his source. It's going to be someone who's laid off or no longer there or hasn't been there for a while. Like that's anyway.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And Schreier, again, let's not forget Schreier. Somebody else had come out and talked about most of the stuff that we found out this week prior to him. And he said, no, that's untrue. And then he turns around and breaks the story this week, right? As if he just got the information. This is how Schreier works. He's an ambulance chaser. If it doesn't come from him, it's not official. He does this all the damn time, right? That's why people don't like him, okay?
He has to verify.
Yeah, he has to verify, right? So he's the elite journalist. He's the mainstream. If it's not coming from him, it's not real. So, but I agree with you, Game Positive. I think there was much bigger plans. But PTK, let's get you in on this. So, again, we know what we know as far as we know it. No official stuff, obviously. So again, we're just talking about this. This stuff is assumed to be true as of this moment. So Certain Affinity, Tatanka, potentially moving to Unreal, potentially becoming bigger than just a battle royale. What would Max Hoberman and his team, they obviously, again, Max knows Halo inside it out. He's an OG Bungie guy.
Yeah.
He's got it on lock, okay? One of the best support studios out there. We know they're potentially working on a Monster Hunter type game for Xbox. We all said here on this panel that Certain Affinity should be one of the first studios that Microsoft locks up when this ABK deal is done. Like this has got to be like Certain Affinity is priority number one, and especially now if this is all true. But for you, looking at this, and we've talked about this a lot, just with Certain Affinity, the Unreal Engine, Tatanka, what do you want to see Certain Affinity do here to make sure that, whenever this comes out, And if they do move to Unreal, they move to Unreal. And like Game Positive said, it could take a while. What do you want to see when this comes out to push Halo forward? What do you want to see with that?
The crazy thing is, I don't know what I want to see. Like,
Yeah,
I don't really think the community does at all. Like, that's the issue with the Halo community. And if I'm a Halo fanboy as well. So, me and you, Game, we in the same spot. Like, I'm a Halo fanboy through and through. So, I just want to start in a couple things. I just want, I just want to start just kind of clear up a couple things, right? So, the one thing I do want, there's this misconception about Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite came out in actually a really, really good state. Like, multiplayer came out in a really good state.
Yep.
Actually, campaign came out and was extremely playable. It wasn't very buggy. The game ran good. It looked good.
Sure did.
Everything worked the way it was supposed to. There wasn't a bunch of patches afterwards to fix a bunch of stuff. There was a lot of complaining.
Sure.
So it felt like it was a lot wrong with it, but it actually was a phenomenal game. Halo Infinite came out and it reviewed extremely well. It came out in a great state. So I want to make sure we get that out there, because some of the Discord
game of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of discourse that gets lost around Halo. There's a lot of fuzz there, no pun intended. But there's a lot of fuzz there, and sometimes people get caught up in that and forget the game came out in a great state. Remember, we were talking about it. Out of the 3 big shooters that came out that year, it was by far in the best state, better than Battlefield as well as Call of Duty. As far as when it came out, when it dropped, those were in shambles for a lot of different reasons. So I just want to get that out of the way. Second of all, I don't know what I want to see from Halo at this point. I'll be honest with you, because my expectations were the same as Game Positive. I was looking forward to finally getting some standalone DLC. Halo's never had DLC. ODST is about the closest we've ever gotten, and you can't really call it DLC because it's standalone. It's separate. People don't include that as DLC. So and then they mentioned 10-year plan. To me, all I hear is grand scheme, big scale. That's all I hear. So I'm hearing, okay, they're going to dive into the books. They're going to get into this larger universe. That's what I wanted from a single player standpoint. I do think there's a lot of meat on the bones, and let's not forget everything I just said about the game. They're just not going to throw that stuff in the trash. That's why the rumor is a little shaky. Like, they're not going to, all the Forge stuff, they just put Forge out. And Forge actually works phenomenally.
Yep.
They're not going to throw that away. Just say, you know what, F it. We're going to switch over to UE5. I get Forge is working great right now, but no, we're going to switch over. The
multiplayer is going to stay. The multiplayer is going to stay the way it is.
So maybe this new stuff would only be UE5. I don't know how I'd feel about that. Like, if the new stuff is just UE5, you still got the old multiplayer and slip space. Like, I don't know the continuity. I don't know how I'd feel about transitioning between both. It's a little different with games like Minecraft. Because Minecraft, you can do that. Like, Legends is like cell shaded. You know, OG Minecraft is a different look. Like, Minecraft works in those different looks. Halo's a little different. I kind of like Halo to be more uniform across the board outside of things like Halo Wars, because that's a completely different experience. Outside of that and things like Spartan Assault, I like a uniform Halo, in my opinion. That's just me, chat. It's just me. Sure. So that's how I feel about it. But I do think there's a lot of meat on the bone. I'm truly excited because I'm a big fan of Certain Affinity. I've always wanted to see, and I've pushed back on the BR idea for years. Right. I really have. I was a big proponent of no BR for Halo. I remember when the dev I don't know if you remember this game. Remember the guy in chat said, no, we're not doing that at all. One of the devs before Halo Infinite came out. They asked him in like a live stream. He's like, nope. We're not doing the BR at all. So I was a proponent of that at the time. I've kind of softened my take on that because I do like the idea of these studios trying to do more with the game. And another thing I want to say about Halo before we get this over to Fuzz, and I want to make sure we put this into perspective. Halo is the only AAA video game that is required to have a great multiplayer, have a great single player, have a great Forge, have a film mode. There's no other AAA there's no other AAA game that is required to be good at all those things.
Correct.
So I want to make sure we put this into perspective. It's facts. There's no other God of War. Yeah. All you gotta do is do a good campaign. You know,
expectations were set long ago, right? Their success.
We're still waiting on factions. Where's factions at? And this is not
right.
No.
Don't get Steel in here. Don't get Steel in here. You know what Steel's going to do.
I don't want to change. And this is not me trying to deflect anything. No. I'm just making a point. People lose perspective about what Halo is and what it could be. because
100%.
Halo still is the only game that has 5 legs to stand on, and those legs are extremely high quality. Those bars have been set for Halo.
Yep.
It is the only game that has to check all of those boxes off at an
100.
extremely high level. So I want to make sure we put this into that discussion. But that's pretty much it. I don't really know what I want. I'm excited for whatever they're gonna do. The UE5 stuff is kind of strange. We'll see how that plays out.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely gonna be a wait and see. And like I said, if Certain Affinity is the test bed for it, you couldn't pick a better studio to do it. So I'm excited just to see where it goes. As a casual Halo fan, I'm just excited because, again, like I said, even as a casual Halo fan, as somebody, take it or leave it for me, I don't want a video game industry without Halo being around in some form or fashion, right? Absolutely don't. It's a pillar of the gaming industry. It's up there with the Marios. It's up there with the Zeldas. It's up there with all of it, the big stuff. And so we need Halo, whatever that means going forward. If it's a different style, whatever the case may be, I just want it to be the best damn Halo it possibly could be. That's all I want from it, right? And I just want to make clear that somebody needs to take the reins and do that, right?
Yeah.
And somebody's going to have to test it out. If they are moving in this direction, somebody's going to have to be the first ones, the guinea pigs, to put out a Halo game that is not slip space, right? Again, outside of Halo Wars 2, which is a totally different style, doesn't count. But I'm just saying, this will be the first time we see something like this. So I want it done right, and I think Certain Affinity is the right studio. Fuzzy, let's get you in on here on your quick, on your opinions about this. Assuming again all this is true, and that they are testing out or moving forward, at least in some aspects, with certain games or whatever it winds up being in Unreal and looking like a new direction. And let's not forget, folks, too, if they're going to rebuild 343, to Gaming Positive's former remarks, if they're going to rebuild 343, if they're going to come back, build up that team again, moving forward for mainline, if they do move to Unreal, as Game Positive said, the talent pool increases dramatically for you, and you get away from the contractors, which was a part of the problem, right? That was a big part of the problem that we've heard, is because, like Game Positive said, you bring them in, they know Unreal, they know Unity, they know the standard engines, and then you teach them slip space, and then they get comfortable, and they've got maybe like 12 months of solid work, and then their contract's up, right? And there's this rotating kind of beast. So if they do move to Unreal, that's going to help there. But for you, Fuzzy, Certain Affinity, let's say Tatanka now is changing and they are moving in a different direction, and maybe they're still doing the BR, or maybe they're adding more to it. What are your hopes and dreams, wishes for this kind of scenario where Certain Affinity kind of does take over this, at least part of the Halo, and maybe tries out Unreal Engine with Halo? What do you think?
Well, one of the things, like we discussed yesterday on Xbox Ultimate, is with the Certain Affinity being used for this, there's this fear, because Microsoft is famous for dropping the ball when it comes to support studios working on a project for a bit of time, and then at the 11th hour they get acquired or bought up, or something happens. I mean, I know Crackdown 3 is nowhere near the IP that Halo is, but that thing was in development hell for 7 years, and they finally cracked the nut as far as the destructible environments, and then they had to throw that all in the trash can because somebody bought the studio and the rights to that tech, so they couldn't use it anymore, so they had to start all over. So with them having to do this whole start all over, if they don't have something on paper somewhere kind of locking in Certain Affinity, so an Amazon or Sony with Bungie don't come in and swoop in or something stupid, I think that's probably the first big step that I would like to see them do, just so that way it's like they have all their T's crossed and I's dotted type of thing. But 100%. As far as the overall game results, like it's hard to say, because much like we all fell for the 10 years of Destiny, we got to do Destiny 2. I wondered about that whole 10-year thing for Halo. Sure. And I just like I did for Destiny, I kind of bought into it and it was like, oh yeah, they're going to, these guys are going to be able to do it because they don't want to, make the same mistake Bungie did. Oops. But it's like, I would like to see something within a 3 to 5 year time frame. I mean, if sooner, if possible, but it sounded like if you're going to have to change engines, that's at least a year setback, probably.
That's such a tough pill to swallow, though, with thinking about everything that they've already built, bro. Like that's like getting to that's like right before you put the roof on. Now, like that's silly. Like I'm leaving, bro. Like what are you talking about? I'm leaving. Like we're gone.
and that's the thing that.
They could, sorry, Fuzz, real quick. They could, though, PTK. They could still just release the Battle Royale. Like, if it's close,
that's true.
They could release the Battle Royale, and again, this is all hearsay. It's all just sources. So maybe the sources aren't explaining it well. Maybe Certain Affinity is also working on another side Halo project outside of the Battle Royale, which they're going to use Unreal to test out. But the Battle Royale still could come out from Slipspace, right? And still be a part of Infinite, right? That still could happen. So we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I think in the big picture, we were talking about Coalition just a few moments ago. It's almost like if they're going to go full board with this whole Unreal Engine 5, I know part of Coalition was helping. I mean, basically a lot of Xbox studios were helping 343 prior with Halo to kind of get everything across the finish line and some of the side stuff as far as getting, everything wrapped up towards the end. But it almost seems like if that Coalition game, that test bed for Unreal Engine 5 is being canceled, hopefully some of the resources now, I guess, goes and helps Certain Affinity and 343 in this regard. But it just seems so weird. Like we always talk, well, not we, but there's a lot of people always talking about like the mismanagement at Xbox Studios and stuff like that. I just hope this doesn't lead to something where either tech has to be changed again or something has to be scrapped, because it just seems like that would be a big waste to have to restart and whatnot. Like hopefully they can turn something around in a couple of years as far as Certain Affinity themselves. I don't know. I'm more focused on Forza, I'll be honest with you, but I just want to see something reach the finish line and not have each of the Xbox community at each other's throats, whether you're a Halo fan or not, casual or hardcore. It just seems like it's almost like they're damned if they do, they damned if they don't. But
in a lot of ways they are, for sure.
Yeah, the battle royale aspect, honestly, I think at this point, and especially with us hearing all these, live service games shutting down, and I know that's not going to be the case with Halo ever, but it just seems like maybe other avenues of things need to be looked at. Like if you're going to do a BR and it's 70% across the finish line kind of thing, just go ahead and finish that out. Otherwise, look at like what some people had suggested before. Like Blam, you had talked about doing like a almost like a horror sci-fi type game where you're on a ring against the flood type of deal, or whether it's something along the lines of like a looter shooter or a third person's perspective, Halo. Like they really, I think at this point, need to try some different things if it can be delivered upon in a faster iteration. Otherwise, continue with the story for Halo Infinite. It just seems like I'll be honest, I haven't finished the main story, but it seemed like a lot of people were saying there was kind of some unanswered, things at the end, which would be a perfect setup for DLC. So it just seems weird that they wouldn't have that in the 10-year plan, because they're the ones that said 10-year plan. It's not like the community came up with that on their own. They said it was going to be a 10-year plan. So I would assume somewhere in that plan, it wasn't just 10 years of seasons for multiplayer. There had to have been some sort of DLC conversation somewhere. So finish the story out with that. If that's the last thing that you have to do in Slipspace, so be it. But it just feels like, I guess with the current state of shakeup and rearrangement that they're doing, hopefully they're on the right track from this point moving forward. So there's no more, either rumors or misinformation or whatnot going on that just seems to detract from what the studio is working on. But I wish them the best and hope we have something to show for it in the next year or two. Let's see.
Yeah, I agree. Fuzz, great thoughts, brothers. I appreciate all of you for getting in on the subject. Again, Halo's not going anywhere. And again, I
Yeah,
don't want to see it
yeah.
mothballed. I don't want to see it put away. I've heard people say maybe it just needs to go away for a while. I don't want any of that. And even as a casual Halo fan, I want it to be around in some form or fashion. In whatever they're going to do with it, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what becomes of all of this. Sometimes the greatest kind of creations come out of the fires of destruction, right? So Halo Infinite is here to stay. It's going to be around. It plays great. Again, like you said, BTK, let's reiterate. People loved Halo Infinite. Okay, there's no doubt about it. There's still people playing the multiplayer. It may not be the numbers that Xbox wanted, but they're still playing the multiplayer. People are going nuts in Forge. Somebody I just saw this week did create a battle royale within Forge already, which we all said was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
We all said it was going to happen. So this thing's going to continue to live on. Halo ain't going anywhere. But moving forward to the future, whatever they're going to do, I just want them to put, give it a shot, right? Give it a chance, inject some new life into it. Whatever it needs to be done, just do it, but do it with confidence. No tippy-toeing around, no dipping your toes in the water. Just do it. If you're making this decision, make it and go forward and figure it out. So good talk, brothers. Thank you for that conversation. Appreciate it.
No, awesome. Shout out to you, man. Had 2 back-to-back phenomenal topics, man. So we're going to throw this over to you, Fuzz, before we wrap up the show, man. If we can get some questions in, once we get through with the topic, we'll get some questions in chat. But go ahead, Fuzz. What we doing, man?
Well, originally I was going to do something in reference to like the whole Microsoft and E3, but I haven't talked about Forza in a while, so I'll start off with like Forza Horizon as far as some of the leaked info that I think it's AR12 it talked about not too long ago. Looks like Forza Horizon 5 might be having something doing with drag racing, which that was something they really tried to incorporate in Forza Motorsport 7. And they had like some test trial things, and it made for a lot faster rotation as far as being able to, go down the strip. But they didn't do the extra stuff as far as the mechanical stuff and the tuning stuff to really, drive that home as far as that particular aspect of racing. But as far as with Horizon, that DLC, that the second DLC that they need to release here soon or talk about here soon, if it's a drag racing segment type of deal, I guess as far as if any of you are car enthusiasts, what are some of the things that you would like to see? Or if it's not drag racing, what would you like to see the team over at Playground Games, roll into the next Horizon? And I'll start off with you, Gaming Positive. Are you into are you a car enthusiast at all, or into racing games at all?
A very, very like minor interest, I would say. But I do definitely have some thoughts. So I think that in terms of drag racing, I think that the kind of best way to capture that in a video game, because if you think about it, you're literally just driving in a straight line, right? It's not super exciting. Environments aren't going to matter. Like the things that are going to matter is how the car feels and the physics, right? And the whole point of the next Forza Motorsport, or like the biggest emphasis that they have in terms of what they're presenting with the next like mainline motorsport game, is the completely rebuilt physics engine. I think that the main thing that Forza is lacking is that kind of embrace from the like car enthusiasts, like racing sim enthusiast market, the people that buy like sim racing rigs and stuff like that. They always gravitate towards like Assetto or GT, because like the physics was always, even though motorsport's supposed to be like the more simulation side of Forza, it doesn't compete with those games in terms of the simulation. And I think that I'd rather see drag racing kind of happen over on that Forza IP. I think that they'd be able to nail the feel of like actually like taking off at the line and like the physics behind drag racing, because the stuff that Horizon does well is kind of being a little bit more arcadey and wacky. And I would like to see DLC that kind of separates them even further. Like the Lego DLC further separates Horizon from Motorsport, which I think is a good thing. And this is kind of crazy, and I haven't actually really thought about this. This is something I just made up in my head like literally 30 seconds ago. But I think it would be neat if, since they don't have like a Smash type style game, or like a team up shooter or fighting game like Smash Bros, where you take all your IP and mash them together, I would like to see more kind of involvement from other kind of Xbox IP in the form of a DLC with Forza, like have tracks that take place maybe in like the setting of Hi-Fi Rush, or in like have more Halo stuff. Like my favorite thing I ever did in Forza Horizon was like the Halo run where you have like the Pelican above you and stuff like that. That was awesome. And the same thing in Flight Simulator, right? So if there was more tracks that took place in like other Xbox IP, like maybe Gears or Halo or anything like that, just kind of, and since they have so much of it, you can drive through like a Wasteland and Fallout, Skyrim, like just go crazy, because like, I mean, that might anger like the Horizon fan base. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there, but for me, as somebody who's just dabbles in it, I would like to see the gap between Motorsport and Horizon get bigger. And I want Horizon to go crazier, and I want Motorsport to go more more realistic. And I think drag racing, if that was the world we lived in, which may or may not be like a horrible idea, but if that is the world we live in, I think drag racing fits more with Motorsport.
Okay. No, I'm not going to disagree with you on that at all. Now, based on, or not based on your idea, but like with your idea as far as like going or digging into more of like the Xbox IPs and things like that for like the backdrop and stuff like that, would you prefer to see more of like I guess you could say almost like not necessarily a Mario Kart, but like a kart style version of that mixed into Forza Horizon, or would you want to still see the licensed cars like your Corvettes, your Ferraris, your Mustangs, your Porsches, and things like that, where maybe you have some of the characters from those games, you know, as your drivatar, but still have the realistic cars in those backdrops and things like that, or just have the realistic transport vehicles from those IPs as the vehicle you're driving.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think incorporating like vehicles from those games as like drivable vehicles, or like incorporating avatars from those games is like definitely something they should be doing already. Like that's not something that would disrupt kind of the gameplay too much, and it would add some nice flair. I think maybe a kart racer is a bit much. Like I think people, I can see the chat's already a little bit against my idea, but
you can tell, huh?
I will say, like, and I want to preface this again, chat. I said the very first thing I said is I'm not like super into racing games, but there's two racing games like in the last, I don't know, 20 years that I was really, really into. And that was Blur on 360 and Split Second on 360.
Amazing
and
games.
both of those games had, I don't know if the cars were licensed, but they were definitely realistic cars. They looked like real cars. And they had like really fun arcade mechanics to them. Burnout obviously is awesome too, but Burnout 3 is like really old. But yeah, you can do like that kind of fun arcadey combat racing sort of thing, but still keep it somewhat grounded. I think Split Second was like such a smart idea, because the way that you attack people is by like causing environmental things to happen. You're not shooting like neon missiles or whatever at people. You're literally causing a plane to crash on them, which is like insane. Like that game is so good. They need to make a new one. But yeah, I think that, I don't know. I just like want to see more things like that Halo level in Forza Horizon, like more things like that. And they shouldn't do that, because clearly I'm like one of the only ones that thinks that way.
No, I think you're on to something as far as the environments, like mainly on the Horizon aspect of things. Like I think there is a place for that, whether it's like the showcases, much like the Halo one that they had in Forza Horizon 4.
Yes.
That there's definitely things that would work, or that they could work on as far as just the backdrops and things like that. I would be interested in driving in like a Hi-Fi Rush environment, even if it's just for like a showcase event type of thing, as opposed to like a whole, you know, separate map or something like that. But that's
or
pretty
add
cool
motorcycles. Then you can really see your avatar. If your avatar is Master Chief and you have a motorcycle, let's go.
So I'll switch over to Pong. As far as when it comes to the potential leak of having like drag racing into Forza Horizon, mainly for 5 as far as their DLC, is that something that you'd be looking forward to, or is there like a different idea you would have for like that for the DLC coming to Forza Horizon 5?
I lived my life a quarter mile at the time, Fuzzy. So,
my goodness.
I am family. I'm definitely down for drag racing. I'm down for drag racing in Horizon. I'm down for drag racing in Motorsport. I love drag racing. I think it's fun. Now, again, Game Positive is spot on. we all know, anybody who has been around racing, who has done it in real life, a lot of drag racing comes down to the driver at the line, right? That split second is what makes the difference. And I don't know if you can do that in a Horizon per se. I don't know if you can get that feel. I think they would have a better chance of getting that feel along with the physics that Game Positive was talking about, because launching a car from a standstill is different in a lot of ways than just racing while driving, right? So there's a lot to it that goes into it. But I think it's a welcome addition to Horizon if that's what's going to happen, especially from the multiplayer aspects, right? The being able to show up and match up different cars that you would never see race in real life, like that kind of fun against, whether it's randoms or against your friends, that quick kind of adrenaline rush of the drag race, that quick dopamine hit that you get from that, where it's not 3 laps, 5 laps, 10 laps, whatever the case may be, or 5 kilometers or whatever the case may be. It's just that quick hitter, right? And then you're back at it again, right? And if they can nail that part of it, I think it'd be a welcome addition, and I'm all for it. So absolutely, I do like Game Positive's idea of, I don't see any difference from what he's suggesting than like the Hot Wheels DLC. The Hot Wheels DLC is fun. It's not realistic. It doesn't fit in like with the where they're at location wise, right? It's Hot Wheels, for God's sakes, right? It's little kid tracks. It's fun, right? So I don't see anything wrong with Game Positive idea. I think it's actually kind of cool. I've always thought a theme section from all the different IP that Xbox now does have, and they are going to have potentially more with ABK. They need to do that more, not just in something like Forza Horizon, but in general. I want to see mashups of IPs in a lot of different areas. So no, I love that idea, Game Positive. You're not alone. And again, it wouldn't be out of the norm for Horizon to have some fun. Like I said, Hot Wheels, it is what it is, right? But everybody loves it. So I think some theme sections would be cool. But no, overall, drag racing is something I've always wanted to see in these games, because I do enjoy that quarter-mile run. And like I said, being able to match up different cars that you may never see in real life go against each other is cool, whether it's realistic or not. And we know Horizon is the arcade side of things. It doesn't matter. It's still just fun. And amongst friends and stuff, lining up different cars. Yeah, let's go. So I'm all about it. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. PTK, as far as when it comes to Forza Horizon, I know you don't dive into it very often, but as far as like the DLC, much like the Lego DLC of the past and the Hot Wheels DLC of the past, they have something that they definitely need to release here probably in the next couple of months. And it seems like it may be drag racing is going to be that additional DLC that we get, or the second DLC we get for it. But as far as for that game, would you like to see that, or is that something, or is there like another idea similar to like Gaming Positive's idea? Is there something else that you would prefer to see in like a Forza Horizon that might get you hooked into that game?
So being a racing, car novice like myself, I definitely know how to experience, like you and Zinc and shown to a lot of other people that are, car fanatics. But I'd love to see, it's a welcome addition, in my opinion. I get all of my Forza stuff from you guys, literally. So whatever you guys ultimately want, I want. So I'm a cheap date in that way. But ultimately, I do love seeing different aspects, and they keep saying it. Forza is the arcade game, right? Forza is the arcade racer. So things like that, I'm welcome to stuff like that, right? Like you said, doing those dream matchups, racing cars you would otherwise never see, on a drag strip together at all. All of the cool locales that they use, even the toy stuff, like they mentioned the Hot Wheels stuff. I was super happy with that. Like I enjoy that kind of stuff as well, because it's really fun. And then you got the new mode where you can kind of create different modes all within all within Horizon 5 as well too. So that's interesting. I like seeing stuff like this constant injection of new things. And I don't think we've never had a drag. Has Forza ever had a drag element at all?
Just in motorsport, and then they tried to lean more into it for 7, but it still. I'll get into what my pointers for it, but it was just in Motorsport 7s where they really leaned into it, but it's mainly been a motorsport thing.
Okay.
And they do have the drag strips at in Horizon 4 and Horizon 5, and most people used to race or do drag racing at the airports in the previous ones and stuff.
Okay. So there was some aspect of that in previous games. So that just goes to show you that, there was people that actually wanted that. If they put that together and follow up with a full, like they build that into the game, that's going to be really cool because you guys have been doing it anyway, right? Like it's kind of been just an add-on, like something for you guys to do, something extra. If they actually build that aspect up to, to be an additional part of the game rather than just, a location you can just go and decide to do that at, rather actually build some mechanics and kind of, go in and tune, do all these cool things you can do and do the drag races. That's going to be cool. So yeah, I'm open to this idea. Like once again, Forza's, it's the Playground. They can't really go wrong with Forza, in my opinion. Once again, I'm a novice, so there are other things I'm sure you're going to get into, but yeah, I'm 100% cool with that idea.
Awesome. Now, for me, being the racing nut and been drag racing for a few years with my Camaro and my Mustangs I've had in the past and stuff, for Horizon, to keep it loose and fun, since it's more of the arcadey game, I do want to see them add some more tuning stuff to it, where you can either, without going into as much detail on having it where you can put a fuel mixture where it's a little more lean or a little more rich. Also having it where you can situate differences in weight and stuff like that for the vehicle. Like the key things are going to be weight, tune class. Like they have already, all the way from, they have D through S2 and stuff like that, and X series cars or X series tunes. But I think if they could find a way to make it so you could go to like the drag strip at the airport or something like that, or maybe a specific section where you could just line up almost like you do at the drag strip. And it's like, all right, you have an A800 car. You're going to line up against another A800 car. Now, they may have started with a D-level car and brought it up to an A800. As long as the balancing matches up weight to power ratio, I think that would be a big thing that they have to kind of do on the back end. Don't make it as much of a fidget thing for the player, at least in Horizon, but make it so a lot of the stuff in the background is like, all right, these two cars are within that weight class and power class, so they can go head to head. And it's like you have the countdown, you get a couple of tries. If you blow the count or if you blow the light, you go to the back of the line type of thing. But have it where you can earn some more prize money, have it where you get back in the line. So it's a quick turnaround type of deal. And if you want, you have the option to kind of do like what they do in Need for Speed Unbound. You could bet on or bet against like the opposing feet or the opposing driver, or even race for pink slips. Like I know some people would probably try to do like a quick disconnect if they wind up losing their Ferrari Pista or something like that. But have it where it's pink slips. If you have duplicate cars, it's no big deal. But you put your tune into the car, and if you lose it with the tune and the livery, and that other person gets it for $0. So I think they should probably incorporate something like that into Horizon. Another big thing I really want to see is the street racing or like night highway racing, where once again, match car class levels. And you could do rolling starts at 50 miles an hour, head to head. You do the 3 beeps and then you go after it. And if you want to add a like hot pursuit element to it, so be it. Have other players, because I've played around in 4 where me and a couple of my friends would have our cars set up as undercover or unmarked police cars, and you would see the people drag racing on the highway, and all of a sudden we'd pull out from like the overpass from the side, and you'd see them like half the time I should have recorded the videos, but you'd see the people like run off the road because it's like they're not expecting the cop car to come flying after them in a Forza Horizon game. But adding that kind of element as an optional thing, I think would be pretty cool. But on the motorsport aspect of things, what they did with Motorsport 7 when they added drag racing, they made it a faster turnaround time. They made it a little bit more enjoyable as far as the racing aspect, head to head. You quickly, get queued in and you can go. And instead of it being like a 3-minute in between each go, it was more like 30 seconds. So they definitely cut the waiting time. But the big thing that's going to be hard in tuning or hard in drag racing for motorsport, although have a few ideas on how they can do it, but they really need to look at fuel tables. They really need to look at shifter or gear ratios for your transmission. A lot of people will go with a taller gear or even a taller rear end gear to get that bite off of the starting line. So that way you get a little bit of a head start, and you could probably maintain that head start the rest of the quarter mile. But the big thing would be tuning. Like at some point, they're going to have to figure out how you can buy all the parts, because the same person can buy the exact same parts now, and your cars are equal. It comes down to driver, but if you want to add a little bit more of a randomness to it, make it where they can tune it, make it where the car runs a little richer or runs a little leaner, or it has like a different cam phasing setup on it, so that way it might be better for, it may not get as good of a jump at the start, but it has enough grunt at the higher end of RPMs to kind of catch up and pass at the line, which that's usually where you kind of do all your little tweaks and things like that. So if they can go into the nth degree when it comes to cam phasing, gear ratios in the transmission, gear ratios in the rear end, things along the lines of like they already have the tires, whether it's drag racing tires versus like your stock tires or drag radials and things like that. But I think the weight ratio, like being able to take a lot more weight out of the car, like remove the back seat, saves you 20 pounds. I mean, they have like weight reduction in all the Forzas now, but it's pretty much like, oh, you take the spare tire out, save 50 pounds. Oh, you take the speakers out, save 100 pounds. Oh, you take everything out, all the seats out except for the driver's seat, and put a roll cage in. It saves you like 100 pounds or 400 pounds or something like that type of deal. I think they can go into a little more detail. It may not hit the mark with everybody that's going to race in motorsport. For those that are really into drag racing, those would be all the key points that would make this not just the pinnacle of simulation racing in general, but definitely add to it as far as for drag racing. But I've probably rambled about Forza at this point in time, but I'm so anxious for this game. Like I really want them to hit their marks as far as being able to get the polishing done between February and March, so that hopefully this thing still comes out in June or sooner. But yeah, I'm almost accepting of the September, October timeframe at this point. Yeah, I'll be a little disappointed, but once I have that game in hand, it's not going to matter. I'll forget all about the delay at that point. That's all I got.
Fuzz, did they have a spectator mode in Drag Racing in 7? I don't remember.
They didn't, but you do your replays. Like that's another thing that they need to work on. The spectator cameras and just having a spectator mode. Because there's some times where I would just like to see how other groups of people race at Watkins Glen or Sonoma.
Right.
And it make it like it's a TV race. Like you have the replayability as far as the cameras. Make it so if I'm not interested in racing at the moment because I'm cleaning the house, but I got the TV on, I can watch others race and maybe see that there's a better line to run at this track and stuff like that. And then when I'm ready to hop on, I can cue in. But that would be something that they should definitely look into.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'd sit down and have, like you said, if you're doing other things, have drag racing on and just watch people drag race just like they do on TV. And if they've got the cycle time down where you're constantly getting races, that'd be a super cool feature. Switch out the cameras, have all the different views from the end of the track to the start. Man, that would be so cool. They should do that, Buzz, for sure. So
yeah, that's one more to add to the suggestion pool. And I hope. I know Lounge Toy. I think he sometimes follows some of my tweets and stuff, but I really hope they implement something along those lines. But so far, what we've heard from what they're implementing into the next motorsport, they got the time of day or the day progression, temperature changes are going to affect tire wear and tire grip more. You're going to have rubbering in the track as far as the racing groove will probably get better as the day progresses, or if it rains during the race, your racing groove might get washed away. So it might be a little hectic for the first few laps or something. So all these things that they're adding to make the simulation aspect of it even better is a welcome change. And they were already doing, in my opinion, a pretty good job. The only thing additional I'd like to really see them add that GT7 does right, although there's other things that GT isn't doing right, is have it where you can upload your own decals or designs. Like I respect all the painters out there for Forza where they're creating those things in game, and that's hard to do, and that takes a lot of talent to be able to create pretty much a replica decal of or replica paint scheme of a real car from down to the details of the the car numbers, the driver name, and all that stuff on the car. But if you can upload that stuff, it would definitely help people like me where I want to spend more time racing than painting the car, because I'll spend hours trying to paint the car to get it exact the way I want, and then it's like, okay, I spent 8 hours painting this car when I could have spent 7 hours driving it and an hour painting it. But
yeah,
more of my rambling. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, that's all good, bro. I know how it is, bro. We have people here that just come here for you to talk racing. So we got to get that in, Fuzz. It's very important that we get our racing fix in. But shout out to everybody. Once again, phenomenal topic. I'm super happy going forward. I'm sure we all want to see phenomenal things going forward from Playground and the Forza Horizon team. So I'm actually think we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up on that note, man. So it's been a phenomenal show. Everybody that did come out and watch, everybody that's going to watch later on, shout out to you guys. You're amazing. Once again, on your way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here. Thank you. Hopefully you come back and see us every single week. We do this every single Saturday. So if you got a good vibe and this is your thing, come hang out with us. Tell everybody else what we got going on here. Let's get this thing popping off. We do have some goals this year we want to hit. So, my DMs are always open, suggestions, things like that. But I do want to make sure I give our guests a proper outing here. And I want to say first and foremost, shout out to you, Game Positive, for hanging out with us, bro. I know you're going to let everybody know where you can find you when you get out of here. But thank you for hanging out. Spend a little time. I know it was a little precarious throughout the week. Had some special circumstances. Had to make sure certain things got to get done. Priorities. We understand that. But, man, you're always welcome to come back on. I hope you had a good time, brother, your first time here. But let everybody know once again where they can find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, man, it was awesome to be here. Thanks for the invite. You can find me on Twitter at GamePositiveYT, same address at YouTube. I just released the Game Pass Awards, which was a huge project for me. It has over 50 independent gaming content creators on the nominations and voting panel, including people that are in this podcast right now. It was a lot of work to make compared to like the stuff that I usually do. And I think it turned out okay. It's at 98 views right now. If I can get that to 100, that'd be really, really nice. Just a suggestion, but
go do that. You guys already know it'll be 100 before we click off the show. Go give them some support, y'all.
Awesome. I also write for Season Gaming. One thing I will say really quickly is Ainsley Bowden over at Season Gaming just released today, actually, a very thorough and very informed kind of piece about all the stuff that's going on about Halo Infinite. If you want to talk more about Halo Infinite or hear more about Halo Infinite, he's got a ton of research in that old man brain of his, and he did a really good job of kind of laying out all the facts of the matter and giving some really good insights. So I definitely recommend checking that out as well over at the Season Gaming YouTube channel.
Awesome. Shout out to you. And Ainge is a real Halo fan. Let's make sure we make that clear. Ainge is a huge Halo fan. We talk about being Halo fans, so please go show that man some support. He's a true Halo fan, very candid about how he feels about Halo and the directions, but always well-informed, always thoughtful. So shout out to you once again, Game. Yeah. Game Positive and the entire team at Season Game, Ainge, everybody over there. You guys are fucking phenomenal, bro. So please, guys, you know what we do. We go show the guests some support. Go get that video to 150 views, hopefully within the next 24 hours. Go run over there, watch the video. Once again, it was precariously put together. We got to show support for these content creators taking their time to do these awesome things for us. So shout out to you, Game Positive, bro. Once again, you are welcome on this show anytime, bro. Anytime you got some free time, you never know when you'll get a tweet from me or a DM. So shout out to you for hanging out. Tell wifey I said thank you as well for letting us borrow you for a couple hours as well. That's awesome.
Yeah. As soon as I got down here, I got a message that the little baby woke up. So she put in double duty. So I'm probably going to take my licks as soon as I go upstairs. One thing I will say right quick too, I can beat Ainsley at Halo just for the record. So everybody knows.
Okay. Well, look, that might draw some. I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about that, and we'll see. We'll see how that unfolds on the Twitter streets. Just tune in to the Twitter streets. Go follow Game Positive and see how that all folds out. Because I feel like Ainsley would feel opposite, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Oh yeah, shout out to you. Shout out to Ames. But once again, brother, thank you for being here, spending a little time with us, man. It was super fun, bro. I hope you had a good time.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be back.
Awesome, for sure, man. Let's go ahead and throw this over to my two right-hand man. Another phenomenal show on the books. We do this every week, man. Every week, and it's getting better and better, man. 2023 has gotten off to an amazing start for us. Mr. Pong Soul, brother. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good, man. Again, best way to end a Saturday night is right here with my brothers PTK.
Oh, the video's at 100 views, by the way. Bacon just
See,
checked.
there we go.
See,
Let's
look.
go.
Boom.
That's how it
Nice.
goes.
Love you guys.
But no, again, thanks Game Positive for joining us and giving us your time tonight and your thoughts and opinions. Again, that's the best part about doing these shows is hearing other perspectives. And you brought it tonight. And again, everything that PTK said about Season Gaming, nothing but love and respect to everybody over there. Again, Ains, and the whole crew, Ty Guy, Dan, all of them, Hogue Law, shout out to Hogue, who's getting better too, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to
coming
Hogue,
around.
yeah.
But all the writers over at Season Games, everybody that's involved with that channel, nothing but phenomenal work. You are, you contribute greatly to the community, and that's the best part about it. So thank you all for that, and for being here tonight. Chat, you guys are all amazing. Whether we agree or disagree, every single Saturday you show up. You guys bring energy. You guys bring conversation. That's what it's all about. Again, so thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. Without you, we are nothing. So you can find me on Xbox and Twitter at Pong Soul. You guys know that already. You can find me, of course, sometimes, very rarely these days, but on Xbox Factor Podcast on Tuesdays. You got to show up anyways, no matter what, because it's all good things green over at Double Barrel Gaming. Mr. Boomstick on Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. That's where you go to have a good conversation as well. So be there every Tuesday. And of course, Thursdays, it's over on Fun Speculations channel. Myself and Mav, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. If you didn't catch this week's show, go check it out. Mav had to battle through coughing fits because he was under the weather, but he did. We had a great conversation on Thursday night, so go check that out. But we're there every Thursday, and we do bring in guests from time to time. So please go check that out. And then, of course, Friday nights, it's back over on Fun Speculations channel for Xbox Ultimate, where we talk everything Xbox. And a bunch of other nonsense too from time to time. And last night was a really actually chill conversation. There was only 4 of us on panel last night. We had a chill conversation. We started late, so go check that one out too. But we're there every Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Times. Again, Xbox Ultimate Fun Speculations channel. And then, of course, Saturday mornings. It never changes. Me and Steele every week, 3+ hours, normally 4+ hours, living split screen. We start your morning the right way, live, raw, and uncut, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time, living split screen's all one word, mission 1K. We're still getting there. I think we're almost to 800. So we want to get to 1,000 and then on our way to 3,000. But we had a lot of fun today. We were almost for 4.5 hours today. So check us out every Saturday morning. Tell a friend and bring a friend there. Otherwise, I'll be back here for the Shop Podcast next Saturday night. Listen, it's the golden age of gaming, people. No matter what you enjoy, no matter where you're enjoying it, this is the time to be a gamer. We got so much coming, and it's just starting in 2023. So get ready, buckle up, play what you love what you play. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Go ahead, PTK.
Man, and shout out to you. Thank you, Pong. Every single week, bringing the energy. I want to make sure I get to this $2 super chat. Shout out to Splendiferous, always coming through, showing love every single week. He said, Glenn, what's up, brother? How y'all doing? We are good, man. We just wrapping this phenomenal show up. You're going to have to catch the replay, brother. So shout out to you for dropping through and dropping a $2 super chat late. Thank you, brother. Always appreciate seeing you here, man, every single week. So let's get this over to you, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, our resident car and racing expert. But let everybody know where they can find you if they don't know already, brother.
It was just awesome night being on here with you guys. It was so great having Game Positive on here. Love your perspective and ideas, especially on Forza Horizon. I know not everybody's going to agree, but always good to hear a different look or outlook as far as how the game is and different things that never would have thought of, but are definitely good ideas. But man, oh man, best of luck with the recent video with the Game Awards and stuff. Yeah, everybody that's listening tonight and everybody that catches this on replay, let's get as many views and likes on this video as possible. And as far as for anybody that wants to hear any more of my gaming talk or racing or more recently boxing games and things like that, just follow me on social media at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on the Xbox Lunch Break Special, 12 noon on Double Barrel Gaming on Mr. Boomstick's channel. Then later that evening, FSP on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Breakfast with Boom Friday mornings, 10 a.m. on Double Barrel Gaming. And then Xbox Ultimate later that evening at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right on Fun Speculations channel as well. And then right back here on the Shop Podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Awesome. And once again, it's easy to find Fuzz. It's very soft-spoken, but not too hard to find. So go check him out, man. All over Twitter. So go check him out. And last but not least, here, your boy PTK Blam, the host here of the Shop Podcast across the board. Hit me up on Xbox Live. Hit me up on Twitter. Once again, that poll of the week every single Monday. You want to be a part of that? Go follow me on Twitter. That's where you're able to keep up with all things Shop Podcast, all things PTK Blam, essentially. So yeah, you guys enjoy your night, enjoy your weekend. Please be safe. Same time, same place next week. Enjoy your weekend. Peace out, everybody.
Later.